Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast, where empathy meets action in the world of leadership. Your host, Gino Degregori, engages with innovators and seasoned professionals from diverse sectors, all demonstrating the power of leading with kindness. And now, your host, Gino Degregori.
Our guest today built a multi-brand enterprise from single title office, now leading over 30 businesses and hundreds of employees. But what makes this story stand out is the way he combines business success with purpose, philanthropy, and community impact. Hi, I'm Gino Degregori, and welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast. Our guest today, Aaron Davis, is the CEO of AMD Enterprises, a multi-brand conglomerate with over 30 businesses, including Florida Agency Network, one of the largest independent title agents in the U.S. Aaron began with a single title office and grew it into a powerhouse of innovation in title operations, technology, and consulting. Beyond business, he's Philanthropist YPO member and the recipient of the 2021 October Research Philanthropy Award for his disaster relief efforts. He's also an alumnus of Harvard Business School, OPM programs, and the active leader in community initiatives across Florida. What an amazing background, Aaron, and we're super excited to have you and can't wait to start talking about your background and all the lives you've impacted. So welcome. Please share your background and what you've been doing recently.
Yeah. Hey, Gino, thanks for having me. I guess the short story is I grew up in small town USA, Plant City, Florida, which is the winter strawberry capital of the world. So it's a little agricultural farming community that my mom happened to start a title company 40 years ago. So I grew up in a small business, very much. My mom was the first in her family to graduate high school. I was the first to go to college. My grandfather had a 6th grade education and, very poor upbringing, if you will. Mom rolled the dice at 26 years old, started a title agency. Yeah. She had recently divorced my dad. She had 2 rugrats. I was 8, my brother was 6, and that was our start. So a very humble beginnings, and really roll up your sleeves and grit and had that small town chip on my shoulder. So wanted to not just be viewed as the mama's boy or you had a business given to you or what have you. So after college and after a stint in financial planning and being a stockbroker in the wrong years of 99 and 2000, I crawled back to mom for a job, and thankfully she had me, and I learned the ropes and ended up buying the company from her in September of 2008. Wow. And then survived the downturn, and then scaled, one office with 10 employees to, at our peak, we had over 40 locations and 300 employees, and the largest title operation in the Southeast United States. We grew from the single brand to Florida Agency Network. We were we're growing new businesses and new markets, started up back office operations, an IT company, a consulting company. Now we're just into all sorts of things. And I think at our peak, we had nearly 300 employees. Right now, the real estate and mortgage rates aren't quite what they used to be, so we scaled down a little bit from there. But we're continuing to grow our back office operation, and so that's it in a nutshell. That's the day job. By day, I'm the title guy, and by night, I'm a father of a blended family of 4. I've got 2 sons, 22 and 19, and then my stepchildren, 17 and 15.
Wow. Amazing story. And thank you for sharing that. And congratulations for all your success for sure. And then starting the business or picking it up, right, in 2008, I'm sure that was not you, like it's you against the world, basically, right? And kind of shifting that, right? Or navigating through that.
When you literally have nothing to lose, that's where you get your grit, is because when you look at that bank account, there's nothing in it. Then you've got to push all the chips into the middle of the table and run with it.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell other entrepreneurs is you have to have that strong belief in yourself and in the solution, service, product that you are bringing to this world. Because if you don't, and you're kind of half, kind of thinking or not, or doubts, right? It's definitely not going as far. But the minute you believe, a strong belief that you are making an impact or a difference with this product, services, or solutions, right? It makes a difference. It's that mindset for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that. So let's go into the first question that I love asking my guests here. What does being a kind leader mean to you?
I would have to say, from my standpoint, a kind leader is one who puts themselves in the shoes of who you are talking to, whether that be an employee, a coworker, a spouse, a client, a prospect, whoever it is, and putting yourselves in their shoes and really being empathetic to the situation. I mean, so many times you go into a conversation where maybe it's an employee and they're underperforming, and I always go in and go, well, what's going on in their world right now? Well, what am I not seeing? We're just seeing what's happening at work or at the office, or I can't get this prospect to engage. But you have to put yourself in their shoes and understand where they're at right now. And oftentimes it's personal tragedy or something going on at home or whatever. That usually is where a conflict comes from. It's rarely ever work related. It always is personal. And people are just going through different times in their lives. So taking into consideration where someone is at that particular moment. And is it, do they just have a sickness or a death in the family, or did they just go through a divorce, or is there, monetary issues that we're unaware of? So, kind leaders, just putting yourself in the shoes of the person that you're speaking to at that moment and understanding where they're at, and then really having a conversation around it. One of the things, this was years and years ago, and I was in Vistage, which is a CEO training organization. I was a member of Vistage for 10 years. And one of the speakers that presented to us once, he said, imagine yourself, right now we're having a conversation. Imagine that we're sitting across from each other, so a very adversarial stance, and we're trying to solve a problem. Mm-hmm. And now if you can envision me walking around that table and sitting with you, I'm going to now sit next to you, and we're going to put the table across from us on the whiteboard. Yeah. And now let's look at that problem or issue or whatever that might be together, and then collaborate on how to solve it. So I guess those are some of the things that resonate to me in being a kind leader, is really that sense of empathy and understanding.
Beautiful. I love that empathy and the connection and caring of your employees, your colleagues, partners, customers, right? You really have to understand that. But at the same time, also, I like to put in like the accountability too, right? It's not just, being a shoulder to be there for, or to listen, to connect, but also provide that candid feedback or direct feedback that, folks need, right? And then to your point, as it relates to perspective, right? What you just share is like, okay, looking at the other side's perspective from an empathy, where are they coming from? What are their challenges or their wishes, or whether there are goals that they're trying to accomplish, as whether it's an employee or colleague, right? And that changes your mind and the way you navigate things, compared to like, I'm just looking at this from my own point of view, and that's all I care about, compared to like, let me look at it from that perspective and get on their shoes and what they're seeing. Yep. It gives you a better collaborative opportunity, right?
And it makes it far less personal. Ultimately, we do have a problem to solve for, but let's break those walls down first, so that we can, actually be raw with each other and say, like, here's the things that, that I need, or here's the things that are going wrong. And I understand where you're at in life. Now, how are we going to solve for that together? And eventually, again, coming to some sort of resolution. And that could be, and again, work, that's spouse, that's kids, that's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I'm taking a leadership course right now, like it's tech CEO kind of course from MIT. And right now, the first early sessions are all about leading and empathy. And they talk about kind leaders as well. But there's a negotiation segment that talks just exactly what you just said. When it comes to negotiation, it's not about, someone taking 100% of the deal or even 90% of the deal. It's about understanding people's perspective and what they're both trying to gain, right? May not be win-win per se, right? But it'll be, what are we gaining from this particular transaction or conversation or opportunity?
Yeah, that's the art of negotiation. Are you, what type of negotiation are you trying to drive? And are you trying to find a win-win scenario for you both? Or are you just trying to gain the upper hand? So I had those same classes. It sounded like I took those at Harvard at the OPM program years ago. So I recall that very vividly.
Absolutely. So let's go and pull a thread on your amazing background in building the enterprise, right? Like with all the different businesses. And do you mind sharing a little bit of, how was that as it relates to leading people, right? And then multiple companies, and how do you infuse, or we're clear on the vision where you're trying to go, and then we're very clear on your culture per se, right?
Yeah. Well, none of this is possible without people. Yeah. And so that's what I learned early on is, finding the right people, and then empowering them and really investing in them. And I was thinking about this morning. It's very difficult to lead an entire organization of hundreds of people and really hammer down from top to bottom all the things that you're trying to pass along. But man, if you could just focus on the 5 or 10 that your core group, your core group of leaders, and if you can empower them, and look, I've gone, again, I'm in Vistage and YPO. I've done all sorts of education and classes, and that's what happens oftentimes as leaders, as CEOs, we get all the information and we have to disseminate that to the troops. And so I try my best to get out of my own way. Yes, I can take that in all day long, but I really want to empower those next 5 to 10, because they're the ones that are going to be managing their silos, and they're going to be able to impact the lives underneath them, so that then your messaging and your culture resonates throughout.
Right. No, that's amazing. And how were you able to kind of navigate as you were either acquiring or bringing on new companies, right? Because you have it was 30 different companies. How was that integration or transition within your organization?
You fail a lot early. A few things, I guess. First of all, it's during the course of our acquisitions. Let's just say we've done about 15 acquisitions, give or take, in the last 10 to 15 years. And we start off with small ones. Realize, sometimes if a business is for sale, there's a reason. Then you really have to dig into the business to find out, why is there a transaction happening? And then you got to understand the culture of the company and the former leader. So sometimes you find that they were just, overly active or overly involved in the business, or not at all. And so, really uncovering a lot of those, during the process. The ones that I have found to be the most successful are the ones that feel just like you. Mm-hmm. They feel a lot. The leaders are the same. Like with me and our companies and the people that we've successfully acquired, is finding the leaders that cared about the industry, that were active in the all of the industry events, that were active in their communities, that gave back. That's a perfect culture match, because that's what we are. We give back to our communities. We're very active. And that shows, and people respect that, and people want to do business with people want to do businesses with businesses that are positively impacting your local communities. Yeah. And that's where we started to really figure out, how can we positively grow and acquire and grow new businesses. And a lot of it just boils down to community engagement and really being there and seen as someone who does in fact care about the community that they're serving.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So it sounds like you had obviously some criteria, and you've learned and evolved throughout the different 15 acquisitions. But some of the things that you looked at is making sure that the culture or the leader, right, had similar philosophy or approach into their culture within the organization, as well as the interaction within the community, which is very important. You would think, what does that matter when you have a business, right? It's about the numbers and why are you, but it's a big thing, right? Because as you're building your business in that community, right, you're hiring people from that community. They're all involved. They're all there. And if you are contributing to that, not only from a brand perspective, but also from an impact, to your point, right? You're impacting the people around you. And that feeling and support is amazing. Not from to get the recognition, but it's more like, if I can just impact somebody's life for the better, so they can become a better, version of themselves or whatever that may be. That's huge. Right, that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, we work in a very unsexy job. Title insurance is not. There's not a single kid in America that grows up to want to be a title agent.
Never know. I don't know.
That's why I joke. I said there's two ways into the industry. You're either born into it like me, or you're tricked into it like most people else.
Nice.
So what we found in part of our business, our back office company called Network Transaction Solutions. And this is relevant across any industry. Yeah. There's a lot of complexities in what everyone does, right? So if you can take some of the low-hanging fruit, if you will, we actually put that into a different entity. And that entity, we started to just create basically silos. Like you work out of this queue. And essentially what we built was kind of this foundation for this little mini title university where we can hire entry-level jobs, kids out of high school, community colleges, to come into a trade that they didn't know existed. And so that gave us a great foundation and linked us back to our community even stronger when we're, going to the job fairs and the sponsoring of the high school events and the community college events and bringing in just like, all of a sudden we'll have like 30 kids walking through our campus, learning about, wow, I had no idea what title even was. I thought you guys sold cars.
That's funny. Yeah. That's amazing. So that training is very important, right? Not just training internally, but also training externally to build that pipeline or that awareness. Because like to your point, like I don't know what title. I mean, I know what title is, but people may not know what titling is, right? And the education and the connection and then the career progression that this can provide for those people will be amazing, right? And I'm sure that was a big thing. And I think training is very important, right? And I'm sure you do as well. And one of the things that we invest heavily is in not only our technical training for our technical people, but then also our kind leader training, right? With our core values, right? And I'm sure with the external training that you were doing, you also infused, I would think, about your company, about what we do and how we treat our people. And that I'm sure it impacted a lot of decisions too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what happens is you're bringing people into an organization and they're learning a culture as well as a trade. And they're seeing, what their leaders are doing and the giving back to the communities and all of the philanthropy and everything else that you've infused into the organization. And they're seeing that from day one during training videos and onboarding and everything else. So they're understanding the company that they're working for is not just monetarily driven, that we have other goals and passions as well.
Absolutely. So you talked about impacting communities, and I think on our pre-call here before, you shared an amazing story about chainsaws, right? And do you mind elaborating on that and give us that, share with our audience?
Yeah, the shortened version of that is I grew up in Florida. Pretty much every single year there's a hurricane that impacts some area of the state, and it's basically our Tampa Bay area. It's usually like one every 5 years. There's some big threat or some, torrential downpour of rain and wind and everything else. So it's like everyone in the Tampa Bay area and everyone in Florida pretty much knows how to operate a chainsaw. Like we basically have to cut our way out of the driveways, after a storm passes, a tree's down and you got to cut your way out. So that's where the origin of the chainsaw man started. But in 2021, there was a snowstorm in Texas. They call it Snowmageddon. It was a solid week of sub-zero temperatures and, just heavy snowstorms. I was dating my now wife at the time, and her house had some problems. So I flew in to help her. And then once we got her situated, I went and volunteered at a local church. Local church, it's, basically they say, well, there's a town called Harper, Texas, 2 hours from here. They've got, little old ladies with trees on their house and they can't get out and the whole town is just suffering. And do you know how to operate a chainsaw? And I said, yep. So I'm wearing a Tampa Bay Buccaneers cap and they give me a chainsaw. And one of the people at the church took a picture, put it in their Facebook group. And lo and behold, a person within the congregation was good friends with an editor at People magazine.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm driving to Harper, Texas. I get a phone call and they say, hey, People magazine wants to interview you as soon as you get there. So I was like, okay. So I get there, I'm volunteering, I'm helping out this local fire department. And then People magazine runs a story. And while I'm there volunteering, it hits the media. And so, thankfully, I've been, involved in my Rotary Club. I was president. I've always know how to take media and turn it into something good. So I put that out to my network, my LinkedIn and my Facebook and everything else. And I said, hey guys, this little town needs your help. And within 4 days, I'd raised $100,000 for this little Harper volunteer fire department. And so I was called the Tampa Chainsaw Man. I was in People magazine. 2 years later, Hurricane Ian hits Florida. I called my brother. I said, hey, let's go down there and help, the people down in Port Charlotte. I've got a buddy that's running a rescue organization down there. So we buy up 30 chainsaws. We drive to Port Charlotte. We're handing out chainsaws and we're helping, carve up the place. And my contact at People magazine calls me again just by chance and goes, hey, hey, chainsaw man, what are you doing about this storm?
Oh, man.
And I said, well, it just so happens I'm here with my brother and we're doing the same. And so she runs another story. And in this story, this is 2 years removed, back in People magazine, we are now the Chainsaw Brothers, and we were labeled as the kindest folks in America. So we were in the kindest people in America edition.
Wow.
After that, Kelly Clarkson show picks up on the story, calls me and my brother, flies us to Hollywood. And next thing you know, we're on the Kelly Clarkson show, raise more money, more awareness. Kelly Clarkson donates 30 chainsaws. And so we just have this grassroots effort of helping folks and helping communities in the paths of storms. And what I found in all of that, and this goes back to leadership and kindness in general, is when people have their foundations rocked, whether it be snowstorms or God forbid, fires, tornadoes, whatever it is, people are just scrambling to help themselves and try to do what they can just to get their foundation safe. So when I was able to go into those situations as a third party, like I don't have a dog in this fight, I don't live here, but I can help you guys. I'm a CEO. I've got certain skill sets. I can manage a lot of people and a lot of things really quickly. And so that gave me a new purpose that, in life, that I was like, I'm really good at this natural disaster thing. Like, something there is good. So that has kind of brought me to where I am today. We're in the midst of starting kind of our own little foundation called HERO, Hometown Emergency Response Organization.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And yeah, so what, look, when a storm hits, there is an immediate need within 48 to 72 hours that national, Red Cross can't get there fast enough, and towns are still recovering. But there are some people that have the abilities to go in and help. So just last year, the last hurricane, Hurricane Milton, hits the Tampa Bay area, runs right through my hometown. I flew in, we set up a food kitchen, we fed 4,000 people. I purchased 100 chainsaws, and I was running a chainsaw crew. I had my crews running, for weeks on end nonstop, and we did about 100 chainsaw jobs just to get trees off of our first responders' houses. So now I've got this playbook that I'm really well versed at running. So now you just sit back and wait for the next disaster to happen.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing this story, and I commend you for doing those things and being you, right? Being that kind leader that you were put on the kind of the magazine there, but you're doing it from the right place. So, and you've impacted so many lives. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, it's my pleasure. And it's just, I just wish there were more time in the day and more, more people or more money or whatever it is to get this. And there's other organizations that are like this around the country, but it really just starts small. Starts small. It's at home. It's your own little, your community or whatever you can. So, I think there's a lot that people, once they get themselves out of harm's way, I think a lot of people want to help, and sometimes they just don't know how, and sometimes they just don't know how to start.
Right.
And I think maybe that's what my goal might be, is just empowering the people that want to help and do, and just create that energy in them.
And to your point, they just gone through such an impactful times in their lives, right? Where they're only seeing devastation. They're only seeing, oh man, I just lost X, Y, and Z. Hopefully it's just material stuff, but sometimes there's more than that, right? And they can't think of anything else. They're just, almost paralyzed in the way, right? And like, oh man, what am I going to do? What's my life? And your mind starts racing, right? And having someone like you or other organizations that are coming in and being that light, essentially, right? That the light at the end of the tunnel that, we got you, we'll do whatever we can to support, navigate, and help out, right? So.
Exactly. And so, and again, people just get flooded with information at those times. And so, being able to be there, boots on the ground, you could see and hear, and then think about ways to better execute a plan, to get food to people, to get chainsaws to people. So yeah, it's definitely something I have a passion for.
Absolutely. And I can tell, and I definitely commend you for doing an amazing job. I'd love to figure out how I can help. And I don't know if you work with kind of pilots out there where they can get materials faster, right? Where, the smaller airports could potentially get the different things from a different state or stuff like that. Do you do any collaboration with pilots right now?
No, I don't. That's a fantastic idea. I literally, when these things happen, I just ping my various networks and
Yeah.
go, here's the problem. Here's where I'm at.
Right.
Give me some solutions. So yeah, now that I've got a friend who's a pilot,
There you go. Add me to the rotation there. And, I have other friends too that might be able to, like, or myself, or where I've seen situations where we've taken, we rescue dogs, or we bring food for situations like I'm in Northern Virginia, and we've flown to like West Virginia to provide food and different things when they gone through devastation. But especially when you talk about chainsaws, you just put like 10 chainsaws in a small plane and fly to to the location. You know what I mean? And
yeah, everyone thinks about food and water and supplies, but then sometimes it's something as easy as chainsaws.
Yeah, right, right. Well, what an amazing story, and I appreciate you sharing it to my audience here. And again, it's a amazing thing that you're doing, and definitely, if there's anything we can do to kind of help, let us know. We'll talk a little about URLs and links and stuff at the end, so people can kind of contribute if they want to, right? So coming back to the business side of the fence here, we talked about the leadership, right, and culture. We talked about all the different kinds of the integration as you bring new companies into it. And we talked about the kind of the training that you perform and do both internally and externally, right? If you could provide some advice to future leaders or CEOs or business owners or entrepreneurs, right? As part of your journey, what are some of the things that you would recommend people look at if they're looking to, not necessarily the title, but just running a business, right? And leading with kindness, are there maybe 2-3 things that you would like to provide as an advice to folks?
Yeah, I think going back to the heavy investment in a core leadership team, you're only going to be able to do so much. So
Right.
You've got to have that top, band of leaders that believe in everything the way that you do. So investing in them, whether that be, I sent my entire group to Ritz-Carlton has a customer service training platform. Ritz-Carlton actually trains Chick-fil-A. And other big organizations. And so if you're trying to get that level of like a customer service, it's investing in your people to go to these,
Right.
types of trainings. We do Dave Ramsey. So we do Ramsey leadership training every year. And we actually bring some of the training to the rest of the staff, because we're trying to teach them about money and management and debt and all these other things. So yeah, it's investing in people and programs and in leadership trainings that are meaningful and impactful and that can scale. And again, you got to get out of your own way. That's me. I was in my own way for decades, and I've learned just to get the heck out of the way and just allow that information to pass directly to the people that are going to impact the masses.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that, because I resonate with that, because when I say like 1-2 people under your leadership, and as you grow, you're like, oh, you still want to hang on to that control and be able to. You can scale, you can grow, and you need to shift from doing everything to training everything, right?
Yeah.
And that will, to your point, and you invest in the people, and you empower them, and you go places.
Yeah, and I think that has been one of the things in recent years that I've empower the people to make the decisions to grow the company. So now, from my vantage point as CEO, I'm doing the two most important things: is vision and strategy.
Yeah.
Vision and strategy, and invest in further investment in my leadership team.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, before we go into the next segment, I want to pause here and kind of talk to the audience here and make sure that if you're really seeing the value and the great nuggets that Aaron has provided, please share this with others. Not just like and subscribe, but really share with others as a simple link so people can start seeing this, right? We really want to put the word out there, even if it's as small as, getting the Chainsaw Brothers out there in the world to be known and help future folks. But, appreciate any contribution there. But the next segment here, Aaron, is flip the mic, what I call it. It's like I'll let my guest here ask me one question. So go for it.
I've seen you've got a ton of episodes now under your belt, and so congratulations on that, because that's the hardest thing, is just getting through those first ones and making the commitment. But what is one of the top 1 or 2 nuggets that you've picked up from your guest along the way that has really made an impact in you and your business?
Yeah, I mean, I love the question that I ask, right? Kind leader, what does it mean to you? Because I get so many different perspectives, right? And there's two things. One is listening. Like there's an episode about listening, and I listen, right? But truly listening to someone is very important, and not just trying to think about what's the next thing, I want to say, I want to enter, like truly make them feel like I'm here, I'm listening and paying attention to you. That is like, and I catch myself like even at home sometimes when my kids are asking me questions and I'm thinking about business, like, no, forget everything. I'm here. Make them feel the connection and being able to that. So that was big for me. Then the other one is, picking on Kyle, right? Is the we, right? Really, I can't do it myself, right? And we know that, and even to the same philosophy you're sharing, it's like really invest in your people, right? And that's the biggest things for me that I'm learning is it's if you really want to scale an organization to the levels that you want and you wish and dream of, is thinking about the scalability and training and investing in your people 100%, right? 1,000%, because that's what you're building. You're creating that generational impact. That's what I love talking about. And if you're impacting their lives, you helping them become the better version of themselves. Imagine what they can do or will do, right, with others, with their team, not only internally but externally with their communities. Right? It's a big thing. So that's my two
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I love that. Obviously, I love the we mentality, but that's something that even in our organization, like on the external, I'm CEO,
Yeah.
but on the internal, if you look at our rosters, I'm listed as janitor. I am dead last. I am not that important. I'm just one of you guys. I never say that people work for me; they work
Yeah.
with me.
With me.
So
I
that
love that.
it's a we culture and a we mentality.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it personally, it always, I'm an introvert, but also like I'm a quiet person. I'm not out there in your face kind of talking. And I've struggled with that title, right? Because people see me differently, or even new interns, new employees, and like, oh no, the CEO. I was like, I'm just a person, just like
Yep.
you. I'm like, I'm just here to support and contribute and make you better and make our customers better, essentially, right? So,
Yeah.
so I appreciate that perspective as well. All right, been a great conversation, and let's start kind of closing this out. So, rapid fire questions for you. What's one book every leader should read?
Oh, I'll go back and plug Kyle on that one. I'll
There
go.
you go.
I mean, look, there's so many. I mean, and everything these days seems to be just an aggregate of everything that's great that's been written over the years. Jim Collins and Simon Sinek
Yeah.
and so many others. And again, because I'm a servant leader, I've trained all my staff to be the same. That
Nice.
we're all the same. It's a very flat org chart.
Mhm.
That the we mentality and the we culture means so much. So when you can, not have these fiefdoms and
Yeah.
these ivory towers, and realize that I'm just one of you.
Exactly.
I'm just Aaron Davis from Plant City, Florida, that just happened to grind away in an industry long enough to get success.
There you go. And I appreciate that. What's one quote or mantra that you would recommend?
Again, there's so many, but you know what? I'll go with my coffee mug. It says, "Nobody cares. Work harder." now,
Nice.
now it's untrue. Everyone does care,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
hard work, man. That's something that seems to be missed from time to time. That
yeah,
it's not magic.
yeah,
Like it
yeah.
is. It's grind. It's hustle. It's grit, and just
Absolutely.
getting down and just work. I mean,
Yeah,
having to do the work. You got it's there's so many. Everyone sells the secrets to success and the books and the
yeah,
podcast and
yeah,
all
yeah.
these other things, but you forget about actually having to grind and work and hustle and
Exactly.
hurt.
Yeah,
Go through some
absolutely.
pain. Go through losing everything, or
Right,
starting a business and not knowing what the heck you're doing, and
right.
going out there and self learning all of
A-
these things.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think just so if people do care, but just work harder.
The one thing I want to add to that is the way I interpret that, by the way, Aaron, is nobody cares is more from a complaint perspective, right?
Yeah,
It's from that perspective, it's like nobody really cares on the complaint. And if you are going to be complaining, your mindset now is about what the world is doing to you rather than for you as it relates to what you can create, right? And it's a subtle shift in the mindset, in the mind. I mean, that it's here and you can create anything. And don't be complaining. If you can, the minute you start complaining, there's a challenge there, right? So shift it from like, how can I fix that? How can I resolve that, or if it's unresolvable or something, move on to the next thing. But you're complaining. That makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. If you could have lunch with anyone out there, past or present, who would it be and why?
That's a good one. Someone I wish I was a stockholder just to go to a meeting, but someone who just has some of the best, euphemisms or sayings or ethic is Warren Buffett. Like, I mean, this guy, he literally came from nothing. I love watching his documentary not too long ago that he opens up the paper every morning to see what the stock market does so that he knows whether or not he can afford a sausage biscuit or an egg McMuffin on the way to work. And obviously there's a guy that's worth, billions of dollars.
Yeah, right.
And literally just thinks so simply when it comes to some of the foundational basics. So I'd love that. And like I said, his stock has gotten through the one share of stock is, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just to be able to go to a shareholder meeting would be fantastic.
That's awesome. I would love to be part of that lunch as well. A lot of good nuggets. All right, Aaron. So where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about, your organization there?
Yeah, if they want to go to it's very simple. My holdings company is called AMD Enterprises. That's Aaron Michael Davis. That's so brilliant of my naming, but it's AMD -1, the numeral 1.com. So AMD-1.com. That's my landing page for my personals, for my business, philanthropies, and everything else. And then they can connect via LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. All right. What's a final thought that you want to leave our guests with?
I think it is the be kind mentality. And again, just putting yourself in the shoes of others before engaging in the conversation and just pausing for a minute to think about where are they at in life. And again, I have to remind myself to do that because so often we're just in business and we're reacting and even with your kids. I was sharing with you, my oldest son just graduated college, starting his brand new career and asking, all these simple questions about, what we seem simple, but we have to go back and go, man, when I was 22, did I even know that? I'm just taking it for granted, that we have the benefit of experience in years where everyone else, maybe not so. So if it's a client, a coworker, a spouse, a kid, whoever it might be, just ask yourself where they're at in life first before engaging in the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for an amazing conversation, Aaron. It's getting to know you and sharing your journey, your business, your entrepreneurial journey, and your leadership style, as well as the impact you're making out in the world through that Chainsaw Brothers organization, right? It's definitely look up to you and doing a lot of great things. And to our audience, thank you for listening to the Kind Leader Podcast. And remember, be kind, bring value, rise together. Have an amazing day.